Hey, what's up? JT James here. Just wanted to check in and give you guys a little update on what's going on here with the channel and how it relates to my blog, djworld.ca. I'm trying to synergize the two. We've already done that in some ways. I have an ongoing feature on djworld.ca that you can check out. It's called Strobe Light. So if you're into house music, it basically highlights some of the cooler tracks that I've heard in the previous month. Sometimes a little bit of history, and then of course I have the songs right in there. What I've done on the YouTube page is I've added a playlist called Strobe Light, so you're going to be able to catch all those tracks there. It's a pretty dope house playlist if you want to just check out a bunch of really cool songs. That is Strobe Light. That's in my playlist, and I'm going to really try to synergize my posts here as well, so you can get the audio here and perhaps the video as well. Just about what I'm posting in the blog. A lot of stuff lately has been about what's going on in the world, but I'm not going to get much into that right now because I'm going to talk about my feature coming out tomorrow, Friday. That is Strobe Light, a retrospective. Now, what I've done is just taken a trip down memory lane. We're going to talk about music and electronic music from the late 90s into the mid 2000s, and basically how a lot of times with music and with other things like fashion and design, trends can bounce back into opposite directions. You can look at if you're overlooking like music in the past, 30 or 40 years, you can look at disco and then the reaction into rock music and then the counter reaction into hip hop. And then from there, the hip hop and R&B explosion of the 2000s, as well as when electronic music started to bubble in the late 90s with artists such as, Fatboy Slim, the Chemical Brothers, Prodigy, even guys that are still doing it today, like Armin van Helden started back then. He's one of my favorites. And that kind of really put a little blip on the map. People like, oh, this stuff has some mainstream potential and has some mass appeal to a lot of people. And it's, a lot of times because it's new and people are excited by new sounds. The same can be said back to the days of jazz and the days of rock and roll. So it's nothing new. This happens from genre to genre, like I just talked about, but it also happens within electronic music when trends ebb and flow back and forth. Now, with the late 90s, you had big beat, like Fatboy Slim and Prodigy. And these were, more breaky style beats. And then drum and bass started bubbling, and people were like, that's going to be the next big thing. And then it never did. And I mean, if you ask a lot of drum and bass heads, they're pretty much fine with that. And you can hear it actually lately when I've been hearing a lot of DJs play at some of the Red Bull events. They're starting to work that into their sets a lot, and I can see a lot of younger DJs coming up falling in love with it, like a lot of us did when we were first getting into things. So that was one of the things, but that didn't quite happen. That was overtaken by just mainstream hip hop and R&B in the early 2000s. Now, what happened there? There was a flip back when EDM really exploded, which you could look back to 2003. There was stuff before this, I'm sure, but one of the biggest tracks that really put it on the map would have been Benny Benassi's Satisfaction. And from there, it was a couple years before it was basically Electro House was exploding, and it was infecting everything within the airwaves and popular radio, and even into hip hop. A lot of hip hop, for good or bad, was morphing with EDM, and to this day it still does. That's kind of how trap music was around way before the trap that people know now is. It was a southern music that was more ubiquitous. Well, not more ubiquitous, but around in the early 2000s. But when it went from electro house, once that got too saturated, then the reaction to that was dubstep. And remember dubstep, it was so huge and it went up so fast and it was everywhere. And then it just came crashing down, at least as far as DJs' playlists and reacting to crowds and seeing what they wanted. Now, the answer to that, like I said, trap music. They took dubstep, the things they liked about it, the slow tempos, and what they do is they flipped it and they made it a little bit more user-friendly, and they used it, grabbed the, hip-hop elements that people love, and hip hop is now the biggest, most listened to form of music in the world, so its influence cannot be understated. So in this week's blog, I took a trip down memory lane because in the early 2000s, I forgot to fit this important one in there. There was a deep house. It was pretty big. It was everywhere, and deep, sexy house. Artists like Miguel Miggs and Little Louie Vega. Now, it's the first song that I've featured in the blog, and it's in the Strobe Light link. Diamond Life is like one of the most classic hip hop or house music songs ever recorded, as far as I'm concerned, and it's pretty dope. So you should check it out. It's a good long burner, 8 minutes long, tells a nice story. And then there's a bunch of more tracks in there. A big, huge club favorite I had of mine from the late 90s. It was when I was first kind of dipping my toe into that arena. Is this track called Blow Your Mind by Lock and Load. And to this day, I mean, that's going on my gym playlist for tomorrow. It's, it's still one of those things that no matter how shitty I was feeling, when I heard the DJ put that on, it just brought an energy outside of me and from within me that, I would lose my mind, basically. So I hope you like that and the rest of the tracks I put on there. Just thought I'd give you guys an update. I'm going to be morphing this channel a little bit more, but you're going to get some musical stuff from myself. I produce hip-hop and house music, so you're going to be hearing most of both those on here. I have a song with Razcas, legendary West Coast MC. He just put out an album, Soul on Ice 2, late last year with, Snoop Dogg, CeeLo, a bunch of really dope features on that. So go check that out and stay tuned here for that. That's coming here real quick. Hope you guys are staying safe and be good to yourselves. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like, send me a comment, and I'll react and maybe we can link up. All right? Peace.